We're pregnant!
We're pregnant! Oh yeah, we should look over here. We just reach out to our doctor here in LA. First thing we say, hey, we have 6 mature follicles and they're about to do IUI tomorrow. She goes,
whatever you do not have sex.
We can almost guarantee triplet.
And it's not something that they told us in Bali, so...
Yeah, they were way too chill about it. Way too chill.
It feels so weird that the energy of Jacob watching another people having sex and the sperm from that situation, from that consciousness, the vibration of porn is going to be foundation of our child. Welcome back to Uncool.
Uncool.
And today we want to tell you something cool we did. Actually, very cool.
Yeah, we actually are very, very excited about this. You look at that one, I'll look at this one.
3, 2, 1.
We're pregnant!
with an actual human, not this time peanut butter. Our dog, which felt like our baby. And we literally just found out a couple of days ago.
We did.
And we're not even sure if we're going to publish this podcast or not, but we just kind of want to film it for ourselves.
Yeah, this is for us. This is for us to just like talk about the experience of finding out that we're pregnant after so long and what that means, things that are coming up, and just have a honest conversation about where we're at and the exciting, obviously wild next 9 months is going to be.
Yeah. Okay, so why are you saying that after such a long time? Do you want to go into detail?
Yeah, so I feel like obviously we got married in June last year and we instantly went, hey, let's get pregnant. And my limited understanding of getting pregnant was like, yeah, it's easy. We'll just, we'll do what we usually do. Let's fuck. And then, we tried it for a few months. Obviously, you are much more along with your health journey and understanding what your body needs and doesn't. And what I found out was that it's significantly more impactful how the male's quality of sperm is to have a good pregnancy. And I wasn't aware of that at all. Mm-hmm. What I grew up understanding was, okay, cool. Like maybe there's issues with the woman's side, but I didn't even comprehend that my sperm would have such a big role, which sounds ridiculous when I say it, but like
it does sound ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous, but I don't think I'm alone in thinking that.
I think most guys do, and I think it's all on us. So essentially, we got married. I was recovering through this weird parasite bug that I got in Bali right before, and so I was like, okay, I need a couple of months. I don't really feel strong enough to go through pregnancy. There were like antibiotics in my gut, and like even sometimes like fainting from how intense that like whatever the virus/bacteria was. For anyone who's been to Southeast Asia and they know the level of hygiene, you can definitely understand that this is not for the faint-hearted. And so I was like, we recovered like in September. I was like, cool, we should try. And then it didn't work out. And so I was like, oh, that's weird. I felt like my hormones were okay. And so I tested again with all of my hormones because I just want to make sure that we're good. And then it was still okay. So we tried again and nothing. And then you got convinced to maybe potentially test yourself.
Yeah. And I think it was obviously amazing that I did because I went and tested my sperm and first time in Bali. Interesting experience. Story for another time. But it was also just this like aha moment of, okay, my assumption is just my sperm's great. You suggest, hey, why don't you check your sperm? And I said, yeah, let's go do it.
And I'm like, and it's so interesting. I just want to say that it's so often that like we women do things because we're just like, let's just double check, like just out of curiosity. And guys are like, no, I'm good. I'm like,
unless something is clearly wrong, then you figure it out versus like that kind of active approach that a woman has to, getting ahead of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is very different.
I run these fertility challenges that are now part of my app. And I tell people like, always check the partner is 50% of the puzzle. And then I literally have a partner who's just like, no, babe, I'm good. And I'm like,
50% of all failed pregnancies are down to the men's quality of sperm. Like, that's huge. It's crazy.
Also 50% of miscarriages. So a lot of times when women go through a miscarriage, what do they think? I'm broken. What have I done? Was I working out too much? Was it too much stress? It's, what's wrong with my genetics? Yeah, 100%. And only now we have to understand, if you go through miscarriage, it's 50% your husband's or your partner's fault. And it's not to fault blame, but it's like, stop blaming yourself.
Take ownership, both sides, for men to take ownership of your pivotal role in what happens here. And that's what I found out. So some great markers for my sperm, but some also ones that were below what was benefit, like great for us to be able to, conceive a baby. So it's like, then it's looking at, okay, cool, what actually did I need to do in order to increase sperm? And thankfully, as a guy, there's a lot that you can do.
Also, as a biohacker, I'll tell you, there's a lot you can do for a woman to get pregnant. So we were like, okay, like this, your fertility isn't this just like death sentence, like you are the fertile or not fertile. The chances are that your fertility is compromised because of the environment, right? And we both know biohacker, bioslacker, and I wanted to point out that it's probably the biggest misconception that if someone's looking hot, doesn't have excess weight, is fit, then they must be healthy, right? And so I think this is and I always say like, what's the definition of being healthy, right? Like, what's a good marker? And a lot of times people use athletes as an example. It's like, well, he's healthy, and like, look at you have 7% body fat, you're fit, you're strong. Yet, when it comes to fertility, that marker wasn't optimal.
Yeah. And it was something that ultimately, like, you would look at from a thing, broadly looking at me saying, okay, cool, I'm healthy. But then these things haven't actually added up to what a whole healthy look would be.
Yeah. And so I think your fertility wasn't optimal. And I think that this is just such a big part of my message that, like, health is so much more than a six-pack and a meal plan and looking hot and low body fat percentage. And a lot of times when I look at the fitness industry, yes, they look hot, but their hormones might be out of whack, or their fertility might be struggling. So I think this is really important to say, that it's like, don't overlook it, because everyone was like, of course, Jacob's 29, like he's healthy. Why would he have any quote unquote issues? And issues because we live in the endocrine disrupting environment, and there are EMFs, and he put his laptop on his balls every single time. I was like, babe, not great. And and
then it shifted. So talking about what then happened in those stages afterwards, started on a supplement to support our friends at We Natal.
We love you.
You guys crush. Basically a men's support fertility. A men's fertility support supplement, which has a ton of different ingredients to basically help regenerate sperm and improve the quality of sperm. So every 73 days, a man's sperm regenerates entirely. So it's a really good opportunity to be able to improve sperm over the course of a period of time. And that's essentially what I did. Daily supplementing, taking other things into account, like, working with my laptop on my lap.
You stopped doing it.
Yeah, no, things like that, or having my phone in my pocket. Like, it's all of those things that can have an effect on the quality of sperm. So taking to that account, I really adapted lifestyle.
Sauna, hot showers,
keeping my balls cold as much as I could. Several different, obviously living in Bali as well, quite difficult. Ice plunges were great.
And oxidative stress. So sperm is very sensitive to oxidative stress. So like if you eat fried foods, you travel like we do, obviously our lifestyle, from one hand very healthy, from the other very unhealthy. Yeah. And so that was really important. And so fast forward to me having to take another antibiotic for my gut. I'm like, okay, we need to take a break. We'll try next month. Yeah. The next month comes on, and we decide to explore some options. One of our doctors recommended IVF, and there's a part of me, like, nothing against IVF, but I was like, fuck, my hormones are great, I'm healthy, like I know I can go through pregnancy.
It doesn't feel like we need it yet, right?
And I was like, I just felt like too much of an intervention for me. So I was like, what is like a less invasive medical support? And we started looking, and there was something called IUI, which is essentially an artificial insemination. Technically, it's only, 10% success rate?
Gives you between 10 and 20% increased success rate. Essentially what it does is takes my sperm, they clean it up, they pick the best sperm, and then they go and essentially insert it further inside your uterus, right towards where the egg is, to give it a much better chance of fertilizing. But it's still...
Actually, head start.
Gives it a head start, which is, one of those things. So we did it for, this is actually a wild story. It
is a wild story.
So we're in Bali. We thought, okay, cool. We're in Bali. There's options here. Let's go and explore IUI here. We did our first few appointments. And what they do during that time is this, simultaneous to checking all of our, markers and everything, they also pump you full of hormones.
Well, they basically was like, hey, we're just going to give you a little bit of estrogen to make sure that, like, you have like a good strong cycle, right? And so I was like, okay, cool, like I'll take a little capsule, and I thought, okay, great, it's just a little what was the name of the drug? I don't remember. So they gave
Begins
me
with an E, and I can't remember it.
So they give me a drug that they give women for PCOS, and so they're like, it's so little, you barely feel it. Don't worry, we're just going to give it to you.
But
and
it helps you. It's help you during that ovulation phase, right?
It makes your ovulation essentially stronger. All of your hormones, like boost your estrogen first, and then they were gonna give me injections to boost the rest of my cycle. So here's what happens. It's day 11, 12, 13, and all of a sudden the situation got out of control.
So yeah, we go to our doctor's appointment. They're doing an ultrasound. And this is the day before they're meant to take my sperm and essentially put it inside of you.
And plot twist. So the goal was to have one mature egg that is bigger than 18 millimeters. They scanned my belly.
180 millimeters. 8, right?
No, 180 babies.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. 1 point. Yeah.
18 millimeters. They scanned my belly, and the guy's like, okay, you have six mature eggs. And one of them is 23 millimeters. The other one's 26. The other one's 21. They're like massive. Yeah. So they're like, oh, I guess you're like super fertile. And with that little bit of hormones, you went like into overdrive. And so turns out that they were like, well, we can still do it. There's a chance of like twins. I'm like, okay, twins are cute. Like already looked up on Pinterest, and like I saw what's this Australian fitness influencer Tammy Hembrow or whatever, and she has twins. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I think twins are cute.
We went down a whole rabbit hole. I literally have notes in this notepad of like pros and cons of twins, because we got to the point where we're like, oh wow, maybe twins is actually something that's going to happen here.
Yeah, we're like super stoked. I'm like,
so
okay,
we're like that evening we come back, we're thinking, okay, maybe twins. Tomorrow morning we're going to get this in whole actual IUI procedure done.
Yeah, so they gave us 24 hours to think about it.
At that point, we're like, hey, why don't we just reach out to our doctor here in LA and just
Dr.
walk her through...
Sasha Hackman, love you.
Walk her through what's been happening. First thing we say, hey, we have 6 mature follicles and they're about to do IUI tomorrow. She's
like, whatever you do not have sex. Do not go through the procedure.
Do not do it.
She's like...
Hard stop.
She's like...
We can almost guarantee triplets.
Yeah, so she's like, with what you have and what's happening with your body, close your legs for the next 2 weeks. Like, I would not risk it. This is so dangerous for you. The chances of you having 6 triplets, whatever.
Triplets or quads or even higher was like above 50% for quads. Like, that's fucking insane. And
it's not something that they told us in Bali, so...
Yeah, they were way too chill about it. Way too chill. So we decided, okay...
So we're going to sit this one out.
We're going to sit this one out.
Although Jacob's like, oh, maybe we should
maybe we just like a few days in, I'll just... And we'll see, like, but...
this is how you kill a woman's libido. I was like, oh, I'm not having sex at all. And so Sasha was like a big wake-up call, right? About like, okay, like we have to be careful with what we do with my hormones, because otherwise we would have 6 kids.
Because clearly it's like pumping your hormones a little bit has a massive effect on your body. And suddenly, we might be end up having... 6.
I love you, baby,
babies.
but this is not. Yeah, I'm not willing to go.
I'm not ready for that.
No.
So we took a month off,
which was kind of hard because it feels like, fuck, we should have just like tried, but we like.
And also, you're losing 6 follicles, right? Like, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
6 potentially follicles that could have ultimately been.
Yeah, I got so
babies.
Protective of my eggs. I was like, why are you wasting my egg and overstimulating the hell out of me?
Exactly. So.
And then I was like, okay, we're gonna fly to the US to do it with Sasha this time, and see how it goes. So fast forward to going to LA, we went to the clinic. We stopped doing the hormones, right? She's like, you can take a little bit more again to double.
But they also did a ton of tests to say that, look, you're good. Like, you have eggs that are on their way. They're fertilizing. Like, we saw them grow from whatever it was, like all the way through until that kind of mature 20 millimeter stage. And it was 2. Yeah. Right? We have 2.
It's the one thing that they do during this procedure is they trigger your ovulation with a hormone. And I think that's allowing them to conduct the procedure at the very peak of your ovulation, right? So a lot of times, like, I track my ovulation obviously using Bestie app, and I just know it by heart, so I know exactly when my ovulation is. But because of this specific setting, it's literally 36 hours from the injection of the luteinizing hormone, and they want to make sure that you're like at that very peak of ovulation. And so here's another interesting story that I would love for us to share. We got invited at the end of January. It was a Friday for the procedure. And they said that Jacob has to come in an hour before me to give the sample, aka masturbate in a cup. And then I was supposed to come and like they would clean the sperm. And apparently what has happened in the past is like they would confuse the sperm with other like clients somewhere in the US. So now there's only one person.
Not this clinic, but it has happened in clinics before where they've messed up the sperm samples and then suddenly injected another woman with someone else's sperm that's not great. Like that's a mess.
Anyways, that did not happen because what they do now, they just do it one sample at each location at a time, so there was no room for mistake. But what felt like, and again, this isn't like a judgment to people that
That's what felt right to us. We decided that we wanted to do the sample at home, take my sperm sample at home instead of me sitting in a room and jacking off to videos or whatever that just really disconnects the energy between us that ultimately we're putting in to create a baby.
Yeah. So that's I guess it's like between the two of us, I'm like the woo one. And so for me, I was like, okay, like I'm not against my husband watching porn. Like I know some women are like really upset. I mean, whatever.
We watch it together.
Yeah, sometimes we watch it together, but it's not like part of ours.
Yeah, it's not
everyday behavior. But it's like, for me, it's just like it's so shallow and so performative that I don't really feel jealous. I'm not against watching porn, but I do believe in the energy behind everything you do changes the outcome. So I was like, okay. The reason I didn't freeze my eggs, because a few years ago, I was like, I trust the flow of life of the universe, not against people freezing their eggs, not against science, not judging anyone who's frozen their eggs. I knew that I want to be pregnant with a baby from the egg, from that very moment, from the level of consciousness that I was at the time of conception. So if I froze my eggs at 31, my level of consciousness, my experiences, the work, the inner work and healing all the freaking traumas and all of that, like that to me got frozen in time, and like putting it back in, like I want to become a mom from this moment. The old one, there's like your eggs are all, I'm like, but also like who I am right now is so much more mature. So I didn't want to have this fear-based consciousness and freezing my eggs and whatnot. Again, not about, I don't care what other people do, like freaking
but this is your story.
This is my story. So because I already was like people like, but I had to freeze my eggs because I'm like, I don't care, like freeze your eggs.
Everyone do what you want to do. This is our process. Doesn't matter. Zero judgment to anyone doing whatever process they want to do.
Yeah.
Fucking doesn't matter.
I genuinely don't give a fuck what you do with your eggs. I'm just sharing my story. Every time I share this story, people are like, "Oh, but I really had to." I'm like, I'm like, okay, good. Like,
that's
I don't
important
care.
to you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, good. So decided not to freeze my eggs, and so when we started thinking about this whole process, and like 2 days before, I was like, well, it feels so weird that the energy of Jacob watching another people having sex and the sperm from that situation, from that consciousness, the vibration of porn is going to be foundation of our child. And I feel like our child, I like to think that it's going to come into this world in a more welcoming, more conscious space. So we're like, okay, we need to get a sample at home and make it like way more fun. And obviously I'm going to help Jacob and make sure that we get the best fucking sample there has been seen by this clinic. I was like, we're on it.
Yeah, she put the work in.
Oh yeah. That's going to be a memorable one. So what we did, we actually
But then we also then had like 45 minutes afterwards to get to the clinic, because there's like a very strict time period that you have to then be in the clinic for them to start.
But you missed one more important step. Our phone call in the morning. Our coach, what do you mean? Before we did this. So, sorry, we jumped to the sample. Yeah. We had an amazing call before with our incredible coach, Adriana. Who was this celebrant. She officiated our wedding, and we basically wanted to like clear the energy between the two of us and do like a little ritual. We had a ritual before our wedding. We had a ritual with like crystals before giving the sample. Don't worry, she wasn't like watching us like me like going down on Jacob
first.
But we were just kind of like clearing the energy and welcoming the energy of the baby. And I was like, "Wow, we're ready for you. We're so excited. Let's go." And I feel like we all had that conviction that this is happening. Like there wasn't like, oh, maybe. And it's like, no, this is happening. Like we're calling in the soul, like our spirit baby, and we're ready for it. And then after the procedure that was done by Sasha Huckman, which takes 5 minutes, and it's not even that. They make you just lie down for 5 minutes longer just to make sure that the sperm flows in. Then she was like, have as much sex as possible. And I'm like, good. So I was like, we need to fuck just so we can say that we don't even know if it's artificial insemination or if it's real.
Right? It feels authentic to the experience of just having sex, making a baby, versus any support or intervention, right? So that's what was really nice about that period. We were able to like kind of have a blurred line between whether it was...
Yeah, so I feel like if you're going through the IVF and like, I don't know if they let you or not, but like I would still, even if it's, you know, the process of IVF, I would still like have a super hot evening with your husband and just have so much fun. So even if you're using, you know, a medical procedure to get yourself pregnant, remember that like even the energy that day, what you did that day, how much you had fun, how hot it was. It wasn't just like, you know, mechanical, but it was actually just like profound and deep, and you were like excited, and there was like so much joy in your body and vibration instead of like stress. And so I think there's a lot of fear in the collective consciousness, especially when it comes to kids. And given how bad the infertility rates are, we create even more fear in women. And we go through all of these procedures with so much fear, and they pump even more fear. Everyone's like, it's only 10%, you know, that's possible. And I'm a geriatric pregnancy, right? Because I'm super old. And all these stories that they will like project on you, and you have to be such a fucking ninja to be like, I don't want your limited beliefs about pregnancy, about what it means to be X, Y, and Z put onto me. Like, I want to create my own. And like, we went through hypnotherapy. I really even believe this lesson about your sperm has been super helpful for us, because it was like a lesson for both of us, right? That is like these assumptions, like I'm older, it must be my fault.
Well,
and
more
all
just
of that.
like it was like a team effort. It became much more of a team effort versus like, oh, you need to do this, and you like it. Like, cool. How do we both elevate our health and wellness in order to create a super healthy baby?
And I think if we got pregnant right after the wedding, I don't think you would have been as involved. I feel like that made us super more work and super more like excited. And then
talking about my new favorite book, We Are Pregnant, First Time Dad's Pregnancy Handbook. I am excited.
You guys have to let us know. Is it like, because I know people feel super strongly about the expression "we're pregnant." Some people say it's super rude to say.
I'm just sorry. I don't give a fuck. We're pregnant. I'm telling people we're pregnant. If someone's going to tell me off about that, that's a joke.
I'm just like, I want to like start a conversation.
Okay, so we're at 4 weeks, and I'm curious. I'm not curious because I've seen already the changes that are happening.
What have you seen so far?
What have I seen so far? My wife's very healthy, and I think she will maintain that health. But the cravings that have started to appear, I'm already quite impressed. What did you suggest this morning? Oh, why don't we have Hawaiian scrambled eggs, which essentially, like the pizza, would be pineapple and ham scrambled eggs. Fair enough. Never heard of it. Open to it.
But it's a great idea. I feel like I'm going to start a cookbook with all these brilliant ideas I have.
Crackers. I mean, that's fair.
That's where I knew that something was off. So we found out 2 days before my missed period. And I woke up at 4 a.m. I was like, oh, I really want a cracker. Like, I need to go to Instacart and order those like Simple Mills crackers, like the almond flour one, the kind of healthy ones that have mostly tapioca starch and they're not really healthy. But anyways, gluten-free. So it's like, I really want them. And then I was like, uh-oh, this might be a sign. So we ordered this pregnancy test, and we do it. And obviously, because I peed so much beforehand.
Like we could cut to this video in this podcast.
Yeah, actually watch this.
It's so funny. So it was about 11 a.m. You'd peed twice already, and this was your third time going to the toilet that morning. So the concentration of your hormones is obviously less. So we do this test, and obviously the expectation is if we're pregnant, we see a really clear cross. So then we take off the piece of paper, and both of us, what?
It was super thin.
Couldn't see anything. Didn't really have any confirmation.
Very thin.
In hindsight, we should have just got the one that says pregnant, not pregnant. Much easier.
Yeah. And so it was so beautiful actually, because that was the moment I saw how much I want this baby, because I was like, my ego went into like, oh, I don't really care anymore. Like, it's okay. We're going to be totally fine if we don't have it. Like, just trying to like dumb down my anxiety and fear instead of like letting myself show that vulnerability, because it's super vulnerable to say, I really want something, right? Like, and so we're like, I don't really care, right? That's the whole idea of cool. Like that disengagement, this, oh my God, like, I don't really care. And I noticed that like I was trying to be so cool about this pregnancy test, feeling like it doesn't really matter if I'm like, yeah, but you do care, Aggie. So why are you like trying to like play
Not sure that you give a fuck.
Yeah, it makes me want to cry because it's just like, it's so sad, right? That there's something that you just want to say like, I'm excited and I don't want to show it just in case I'm going to be disappointed and my disappointment is going to be public and you're going to see me look forward to something and then not getting it. So I'd rather pretend like I don't
I'm
care.
not excited because then it's less of a seeming drop off.
It's literally like the definition of cool. It's like...
dampening down your emotions.
Yeah, and I saw it happening and I was like, okay, fine line. And you're like, babe, I think we're pregnant. I'm like, okay, I don't want to raise my hopes. Let's get another test and I'm going to not pee for 2 hours. Instacart.
More tests.
The one that actually says pregnant. And then it said pregnant. And I was like...
oh shit.
Oh shit, like this is happening. But I feel like there was still a part of me that felt like not letting myself to feel the full joy because it was so...
I think I to be honest, I don't think it really hit then. I think it's still... I'm still...
It hasn't hit yet.
I don't think it's hit me yet, you know? Like, and that's partly because, you know, there hasn't been any drastic changes that have happened. We're still early on in our pregnancy and I still feel like, I'm just... It comes up in waves and I go, oh shit, wow. Like, and this is it. And then other times I forget. For a little bit. Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting that it's like, because you're so, like, you did one test and then we're like, okay, we're not going to be super happy because we need to confirm with the blood test.
We didn't feel like it was like a yes confirmed 100%. It was like, oh, we have to wait anyway.
Yeah. And so we waited and then we got a text from a doctor. She's like, okay, you're definitely pregnant. But then I was like, came home, I was on a walk. So I was like, babe, I got a text that we're actually pregnant. Okay, but like, the hormones still have to keep rising, so there could be a miscarriage, and there's always something. Oh, and then you're gonna go through 12 weeks, and it could be a stillbirth.
Listening to us, we just sound like we sit in so much doubt. It's like it's
no,
so
but
funny,
I think this is like, it's so amazing what kicks in, because then it's like they tell you to go through the 12 weeks, and then it's like after 12 weeks, you're like, oh, but I could still have so many things can go wrong, and I can have a preterm, labor, and then after labor, you know what I mean? Like there's always something that can come up that can prevent you from being happy, because it's not 100. This insane need for certainty that steals away your joy from that moment, especially when it comes to this whole process, and especially with couples that have struggled, because if someone went through miscarriage, they're not going to be happy even if they see a pregnancy test that's positive. They're going to be thinking like, no, I'm going to wait till 12 weeks and then I'm going to wait until I actually give birth, because you never know.
I do, but I think from a positive of that I've seen very, very quickly is how you and I have like just drawn even closer. Like, and I think that's been a really nice, like, I think we're early in this journey, but I can feel that there's this like joint team feeling. Yeah. And I really do feel that. And it's a really beautiful thing, because I can imagine from your perspective as a woman, it can be quite quickly feeling whether, you feel disconnected or not. And how much the partner, aka me, the man, was going to, step in and become more of that kind of like support figure. Yeah. And I already feel like we're doing not to pat myself on the back or anything, but like, I think we're doing a good job. Yeah.
And I was going to say one more thing, that like, I'm just reading Michael Singer's Untethered Soul. And I think it's like, couldn't think of a better book for this moment in my life, where it talks about like opening yourself to life. And the more we try to control, guilty, the more you harden and stiffen and get like, depressed, right? And low. And this, and like essentially getting pregnant is like the ultimate fruit of life force, right? Like the life force comes together and you create life out of another land. It's fucking crazy when you think about it, that it's just like, there is a life inside of me that's taking its own course that I have not exactly control over. you know, because it wants to eat
Your
pineapple
body's just
pizza.
doing this insane thing.
But it is like, it's literally life growing right now. And the more you open to life, right, the more you get rid of all the stories and the fear and everything that comes up, the more joy you can feel. But it's so challenging to not live in fear, because you feel like, oh, it could be so, it's
To get
such a
sucked
thin
in
line.
by the thoughts.
Yeah, and it's such a thin line between like this ultimate joy and ultimate misery, and like embracing the fact that letting yourself feel the joy so you can feel it all regardless, instead of being like, oh, I'm so scared, I'm not going to be happy, right? So
Reminds me of that clip, what Brene Brown said when you're like you see the happy family driving in a car in a film,
exactly.
and you're like, everyone's smiling and laughing, they're driving down the road, and she's like, hey, what do you all think happens next? And everyone puts up their hand and says, the car crashes. And it's just like, you can't, like, they're in pure joy, but you just have this fear of being too happy and to this, that then something bad can happen. It can
and it's
change
our
that.
ego, because it's like, essentially, whenever something good is happening, we're so scared of losing it that we're going to try to cling to it and hold on to it, and it immediately disappears, right? So the less you hold on to the joy, or trying to feel like all the good feelings, all the happy feelings, the more you feel them, but you can't be attached to it, and that's really, really hard.
I feel like even it comes up in so many different like pop culture things. Like even in the first Deadpool, he references his life as a misery, except for TV commercial size breaks of happiness in between, and everything else is a misery. It's like so many people just believe, like, it's so hard to get out of that feeling that like joy is a thing that we can only have so much of, and then we have to go back to something difficult, instead of joy is infinite, right?
And joy is, life is joy, and the only reason you're not feeling it is because you live in your head and believe those voices in your head, except you're the consciousness watching these voices. You're not the fear, you know. And essentially we just absorb other people's fears and limitations, and that would be like my biggest fight for the next 9 months. It's like, I want to do my best, but also not let other people, other women, project their fears about what pregnancy could be or cannot be onto me, because I'm in charge of my experience.
And if they do, for it not to, you know, define what you believe to be your pregnancy, right? Because, you know, we see how many people will try to share what they feel like their pregnancy has been, and you should be scared of this and worried about this, and this is going to be hard, and like to allow those things to just pass through and not to have them stick.
Okay, so like if you were to look back at it in many, many years, what would you, how you've been feeling?
If I were to look back at this point
moment,
now,
like, is there anything that's like, I thought I don't like that I'm a little bloated. Like, it looks like I'm bloated, but I'm not. I just like, let me see. No, but it's like, I thought, like, I feel like it's too early to show, and I'm already feeling like my jeans are tight. So as silly as it sounds, it's like, I thought it's going to take longer to not show. And I feel like at 4 weeks, I'm already feel like I had a very large meal, even though I didn't.
I mean, I think I think looking back on this time will be just like a reminder for me of like how important it is to show up as a team in these things, and to like put that energy in, because you don't, like, it's such a pivotal moment in life, and like we're like it's only been a few weeks, and I can feel that it's like it's going to be like nothing we've ever done before. And to be all in that process, like, why the fuck not? And I can feel that excitement to do that, equally with the fear of everything that comes up of like, oh, losing freedom and like losing this, or like feeling trapped. Like, those things come up alongside the emotions of pure excitement for how we get to kind of tackle this together.
I'm excited. Do you
Charles
think
against the baby?
Do you think it's a boy or a girl?
I think it's a girl.
I think it's a boy.
You think it's a boy? I mean, based on the procedure, I guess there's maybe a slightly higher chance of it being a boy. No, I'm just talking about
like the energy, baby.
Ugh, I want to go.
I mean, sorry, whatever you're gonna be.
I want to go, but if you're a boy, I'm gonna love you just the same.
I mean, girl would be cute. I feel like if we don't get a girl first time, I would have
You're
to
going to do some rigging next time. Yes. There's going to be some...
It's easier for boys in this, it's it's patriarchy. He's gonna have such an easier life.
Regardless, they're both gonna love me more. Daddy's girl or two bros.
Yeah. Anyways,
I'm kidding.
Anything else? Do you have any questions?
This is a fun little episode for us to remind ourselves of in a few years' time.
Yeah, we'll do one in another 2 weeks.
Yeah. Hey, here's to our pregnancy journey.
Why do I stick my finger? It's your job.
I mean, I can do either.
Okay, anyways.
I didn't want to hurt you with the nail.
Oh.
Protection.
Anyways, love you guys. Thanks for joining.